I've even found some sources that say Mothman was sighted even back in the late 1800s, the early 1900s in Russia, 1950s was seen in Brazil and Japan. Even Houston had a Mothman or a Batman sort of entity, and Nebraska had one, and even as recent as 2004 in good old Guadalupe, Mexico, something that they actually didn't blame the chupacabra, didn't blame on the chupacabra. There was an officer of the law down there who was patrolling and sees this shapeless black mass kind of falling and twisting out of the sky, lands on the ground. It's a woman, dark hair, and he stops and is kind of freaked out, starts backing the car up, and apparently the thing just in a matter of moments is just on his windshield, looking at him with lidless eyes and just completely black over the eyes, where the white, where the pupil, everything is black. And he faints, and when he wakes up, it's gone. This is, and they're saying, "Oh, Mothman." Well, that's the first time we've heard it's a woman. That sounds like a friggin' vampire,
right? Yeah, I mean, I guess if you got to put it, if you have to put it in a bucket, I guess Mothman.
Maybe.
But
I would put it in the vampire bucket. I don't know, man. That just
any number of weird cryptid bucket.
Yeah, that one's filed under the.
And it's hard when you have something like that that's so vague. But you do have a lot of those, like you said, like from around the world. I know there's a lot of Native American references to it. And in my research, I also saw that there was a neat historical, we talked about how odd it is that you have this Mothman and it intersects with the Men in Black reference, a very early Men in Black reference, maybe the earliest, I don't know. Historically, there was some further tie-ins between that because... colloquially, the devil used to be referred to as the black man, or but now they say like things like Old Scratch. Yeah, right. But in old literature and things like that, things would go wrong, and people would say, "Oh, well, I saw the black man around
because he was dressed in
black, dressed in not an African American man, like a man dressed in black, shadowed, face very very difficult to see and make out." But yeah, always dressed in black clothes. And so there was a theory that perhaps even in this Mothman scenario, that when people were seeing as MIBs was sort of a reflection of the Mothman, that the Mothman and the historical old Men in Black that were seen in some other historical accounts were actually still the same entity.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, in the case of this and the Indrid Cold, I mean, these guys actually showed up at doors and rang doorbells and said threatening things, so maybe not so much. But it was an interesting historical tie-in between the two.
Yeah. That's weird. And there were other accounts, of, it was seen before the hurricane in Galveston. It was seen before 9/11, the attacks on the towers. It was seen before Japan, the tsunami. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Of course, in this day and age, it probably is not going to get too much play in any kind of real news setting, unfortunately,
And with the exception of this happening in Point Pleasant, you never ever hear about it. These reports before the cataclysm, before the grand terrible thing happens. It's always after the fact. Oh well,
a long time after the fact, usually too. Right.
And again, after the shock of it, after people have put their lives together and they're trying to make some sense of it. Oh, I thought I did see something weird before. There's that post, cataclysm logic that kind of feels like maybe psychologically you have to fill that in with something.
Sure. So it might make more sense than it actually probably should.
Right, which again, and say following that theory that there are these pan-dimensional bellwethers that try to help us, they're terrible at it. Yeah. They're just awful.
At the same time, don't
Give
you think
it up.
we're kind of terrible at it too? Like instead of somebody sticking around, just sticking around and being like, "Whoa, let me not point a gun at it and let me not run in the opposite direction. Let's see what happens." Maybe you got a buddy in the woods with a gun on it, just in case. But why don't you go up to the thing and see what it's about? A lot of people said that they felt like it was trying to communicate, and of course it's only giving off these high pitched mousy sounds or sounded like a squeaky loose fan belt or something. But it's like, who knows? You can make something out of it. You can make heads or tails some way or another.
Nighttime country roads, 6-foot creature with a 10-foot wingspan and glowing red eyes. I'm gonna go with the popular choice. I'm gonna run, and if I have a gun, I'm just shooting it.
If it seems threatening, I mean, of course. If it's just walking to the vehicle and all it's got going on is glowing eyes.
Are you serious? If all it has is a hulking frame and glowing eyes, if that's all it's bringing to the table,
7 foot is not too hulking.
6 to 7 feet tall is
6 foot. It would be like. Like, hey man, you want to go play basketball next week? We need a center.
No, I love this. Look, we host this podcast, and if this happened to us, it still wouldn't get to communicate its message because we would be in the car arguing with each other. You're trying to pull a gun out of my hands.
Let's just see what it has to say. You stay in the car, have the gun ready. I mean, it's going to be too fast anyway. If it doesn't work, whatever. But at least I tried.
And I will make sure that your tombstone says, killed by Mothman.
And idiocy.
We'll leave that out. Mothman. You extended the olive branch and it expended its pan-dimensional, I don't know.
Ordinance.
Right. Death grip. Or
I'm just saying, if people were telling me it feels like it's trying to communicate and all anybody was doing was either running or trying to kill it, I think I would stop. This would have to be in the middle of it. If I were one of the first ones, I'm sure I would probably be scared crapless.
But, I mean, like, a drunken hobo on the CTA at 2 in the morning is trying to communicate. Like, it's not... there's plenty of things that are trying to communicate that still have no interest in your continued function as a healthy person.
Does the Mothman smell like a hobo on the CTA?
People's eyes are burning.
I don't know.
I mean, we're edging into skunk ape territory, but no, I mean, but you're right. See, like, just this exact thing is why as a species we can't have nice things.
That's true. Oh man. Well, okay. So that's what we've decided. If we ever run into the Mothman, we're gonna miss our chance at anything because we're arguing about it.
No. I think we've had the argument and we've determined that I will set up a defensive perimeter while you can go forth and extend the hand of human friendship.
Okay.
I will write you a glowing eulogy. I will explain to your family that you died trying to forward our advancement as a civilization, as a species. I was too busy pumping buckshot into it.
Yeah. Probably doesn't kill it. I'm just
probably
saying.
Not. We're probably both dead here.
If it's pan-dimensional, it'll just the bullets pass through it. It'll grab you out. It'll be like the what are they? The Merengi and the second. I don't even know. Never mind.
The phalanges.
It'll get you.
It'll get you. So your tombstone, killed by Mothman. My tombstone, and with his last breath to cast defiance in the eye of his oppressor, did he unload his 12 gauge.
That's going to cost a pretty penny to put all that on.
I ain't paying for it. I'm dead.
That's true. Speaking of last words in there, some of this stems from an ancient Native American curse from one of the Shawnee warriors that was around Point Pleasant at the time it was being settled. Actually, he came to the fort at Point Pleasant in 1777 to negotiate peace, and somebody...
the 1700s, we were so good at negotiating with Native Americans at that time.
One of the settlers in a completely different situation was killed by Native Americans, and in a blind, drunken rage, some of the settlers murder this Shawnee warrior named Chief Cornstalk. They murder him and they shoot him up. And there's legend that says in his last breath he puts a curse on Point Pleasant for the next 200 years. This will be, and a lot of people like drawing that to get some kind of an inspiration or explanation.
It's not a paranormal event if you cannot get a Native American burial ground or curse shoehorned in there somewhere.
Stephen King realized that at an early age,
right? And it worked out for him.
How well he's doing.
Yeah, he's getting the bills paid.